Hi. When I posted this card the other day on Facebook and on my blog, I got a couple of questions. Some people ran out and bought these cute doodles from Gay, whose designer name is GS Creations, and they printed them out thinking they would be perfect for their cards and projects, but they said when they printed them out, they printed out huge, like bigger than a piece of paper. So I wanted to do a little quick video tutorial to just kind of show you how you can use doodles and digistamps for your crafting, like if you want to make a card, or how you can just size it down to actually get it to fit on the project you're wanting it to use it on. So for the example, this is the card I posted the other day. I printed the Jinxie doodle itself, and then I also printed the frame with some text in it, and then I colored it all by hand and slapped it on a card that I had made. So as you can see from this picture, I actually printed and cut out Jinxie, and I printed and cut out the frame. They are not one piece, they're actually separate pieces because I wanted to use dimensionals to get kind of a real layered look on my card. So this video is going to really quickly walk you through how I go about sizing stuff down to make sure it's the size I need it to be. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is create a new image. For me, I knew I wanted my card to be a standard size card, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, because that's the size of envelopes that I had. I always design everything at 300 DPI, that way you don't have to worry about if it looks blotchy or whatever whenever you print it. So you just click OK, and this is your new canvas. Since I was going to be working with doodles that are just the line art, there was no white to it, it was just the black line art, I flood filled so I could see what I was doing. And keep in mind, this is the same size as the front of the card. So we're going to size the doodles to fit this. Browse to the doodle folder, and then you're just going to left click, hold in the click button, and drag it over to your canvas, and it's going to put the doodle actually on there for you. Come back and get the frame and do the same thing. Might as well work with them at the same time because they're going to be on the same project. You can see here in the layers palette that you have the white base layer. This is the Jinxie layer, and I'm just going to rename it real quick so I can easily see what layer I'm working on. And this is obviously the frame layer. Now I want Jinxie in front of the frame, so I'm going to pull the frame down. So they're actually in the order now on my image that I'm going to need them to be on the finished card. So now this, obviously we don't want to print this big, so now we have to figure out about resizing it. So let's resize Jinxie first. You can click and it'll highlight the area, or you can just highlight it in the layers palette by clicking on it. Go to image, resize, and every doodle is going to be different. The main thing you want to do is make sure resize all layers is not checked, because we're not wanting to resize the size of the card, we're just wanting to resize the layer that the doodle is on. So let's try 35% and see what that looks like. And to me that looks small to me, so you just undo and let's try 50% and see what that looks like. That's actually a little big. So let's try 40. And sometimes, I mean, it really is just trial and error until you find something that you like. So now that we have Jinxie a pretty good size, let's resize the frame. Let's try keeping it to scale. And see, that's what we resized Jinxie at is still way too big for the frame. So let's do 35% for the frame. And that actually looks pretty good to me. Now keep in mind, we're going to be printing this out and cutting these out. So you'll have the ability to position it anywhere you want on your finished product, because you're going to cut it out and then adhere it to your actual card. You could, if you wanted to, go in and color these here and print it all already done, like a complete digital product, just print it on cardstock and call it done. But that's not how I did my card. And so how do I print this now where I can cut them out? So what we're going to do now that we have them sized right is select the layer that you want. I'm going to right click and cut, and then I'm going to paste as a new layer, or I mean as a new image. And what that is doing, that's removing the doodle from our sizing template. You're pasting it as a new image, but it's holding the same size that it just had on there. So it's not that big doodle that it was before. Now it's sized down to the size that we need it to be at. Now for the frame, we have it sized right, and on my frame I actually added text. So you could add text to this if you wanted to, or whatever. But the main thing is that we now have our 2 doodles that we're going to cut out by hand, and they're now sized right. We have them as separate images, and the reason we did that is we're going to go to File, Print Layout, and this is going to open your print screen, and what you have here is a piece of paper, right? So you're going to drag your Jinxie over because she's already sized right, and drag that white frame that we resized over. And you're just going to position them on your paper somewhere where they'll print nice. And these were actually small enough that I pulled them over and actually printed 2 of each. And the reason I did that is because I am really not a good cutter, and I usually screw stuff up. So by having 2 copies of it, when I printed it, I actually had an emergency backup in case I messed the first one up. I'm real bad about cutting off, like I think the first one I cut off some of her little hair thingies at the top or whatever. You don't have to double print it, but I always do as emergency backup. But now what you have your doodles sized the size that you're going to need for your card, and now you have them pulled onto a layout. This is exactly what's going to shoot out of your printer, the way that you position them on here. You could print 5 Jinxies if you in one frame if you wanted to. All you have to do is click and pull it over, and then you just print this out and color it, and they're going to print out the size that they need to be. And I realize that I've just really rambled for the last 5 minutes. It's almost 2 o'clock in the morning, and I just remembered that I promised to have this up today, like in a couple of hours. So I apologize for how fast I talked. If you have any questions, you can always email